Good afternoon. Welcome to the Midday Mull for Wednesday, the 3rd of May. Following Robert Murray McShane's reading scheme, the two chapters we read today are Numbers chapter 10 and Psalm 46, and there's a gentle link there. In Numbers, we read about the Israelites setting out and the order in which they marched and which tribes went first and when the tabernacle went, and they were essentially following and going where God led them. In verse 33 we read, "So they set out from the mountain of the Lord and travelled for 3 days." And as I read that, I thought, if we talk today about travelling for 3 days, we're talking about travelling a great distance. In 3 days you can quite easily get from here to the Eastern Cape and then to Cape Town and halfway back again without any trouble. That's even if you're just travelling by car. And so we think of travelling in sort of that the distances will be great. Whereas back then, where you've got all your tents and things on donkey carts and horse carts and cattle carts, or probably a lot of it being carried by the people themselves, you're not going to go very fast at all. And so I'd be surprised that if in 3 days they'd actually travelled 30 kilometres. And I remember reading one of the accounts of the Boer War, where they talk about the English troops arriving in Joburg and then marching on Pretoria. And it took them 2 weeks to get from Joburg to Pretoria. And I was thinking, that is probably the same kind of pace that the Israelites are going at. So 3 days of travel was not a huge distance. It was just a little further on. And then in Psalm 46 we read, "God is our refuge and strength, an ever-present help in trouble." And sometimes we might be tempted to think dramatically in terms of our Christian life, that you'll travel great distances. In 3 days, you'll go from here to Indonesia, and the troubles we'll face will be super dramatic. We'll be arrested and thrown in a prison cell, and God will come and help us. Whereas in actual fact, I think our life is often a lot slower, a lot more measured, and a lot more mundane. That in 3 days, we've just gone round the corner, essentially, and the trouble we're facing is that the car won't start, or we've got problems with the plumbing, or we can't get hold of our sister, or whatever the issues are. Not great, sort of nothing dramatic. And yet God is with us in that as well. And we need to be encouraged that God isn't just the God of the dramatic, He's the God of the mundane as well. And so my life is mundane. I'm not sure, maybe everybody else has super dramatic lives, but the people I've spoken to and I know well, their lives have a measure, and there's no great drama by and large. And we're very thankful for that, because drama is trouble to manage. So in our mundane lives, we need to hang on to the fact that God is there with us. And this is just part of our life and our living with God our Father. So be encouraged day by day to know in the everyday, ordinary, God is there with us, helping us, strengthening us, encouraging and guiding us. Be blessed.